What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Super Gamer Boys. I'm your host, Colonel and most handsome dad, Garrett Morlang. And here in the virtual studio with me are a couple of pretty cool guests. It's excited to have these folks on here. Been wanting to have them on there for a long time, and it's finally worked out. So, introducing that one guy from the Matthew McConaughey commercial and a host of Call Me By Your Game, Connor McCabe. How's it going, buddy?
In case you haven't forgotten that was a commercial, here I am. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. And I also want to introduce the award-winning writer and host of Video Games and Comedy Show, a show that occasionally does cringy AF video game character roast according to their iTunes reviews. We have Jeremy Schmidt.
Thank you. That is exactly, you've nailed exactly my preferred intro. I'm glad you got that email. I sent Garrett an email. I said, say exactly this. It's good to be back, Garrett. I think you and I did an episode it might have been a year ago, but we did an episode together.
So
do you remember that?
I don't think we've ever done a main podcast episode together, like on here. You did one with Adrian.
I filled in for Adrian.
You filled in for me because I was out.
Oh, I filled in for you then. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
And that was maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. So it wasn't long ago. You were here last year and trying to steal my job, really. I don't know how I feel about that the whole time. I listened back to it. I'm like, wait a second.
People were saying I couldn't tell if you were going to
steal my job or steal Adrian. Either way, I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, people were clamoring. They were saying, we need to get these two guys a show. We'll pay money. Just tell us where to send the check. And but Adrian's so loyal that he was like, no, we can't do this.
Adrian gets that all the time too. Everyone's trying to steal Adrian. I mean, how could you just not love the guy and want to snatch him up?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, happy birthday, Adrian Holmes. Bummed he couldn't be on the show, but I'm sure he's listening and he'll hear this. Happy birthday, buddy.
Me and Connor were joking earlier that Adrian, for his birthday, decided he wanted us to hang out with you.
He just needed a break.
Yeah, pretty much.
Someone babysit Garrett for me, please.
All I want for my birthday is for you guys to hang out with Garrett.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for hanging out for me, even if it is a favor for a friend. Today, we're going to be talking about everything announced at Pokémon Presents 2025, Monster Hunter Wild's rough start on PC, and Warner Brothers shutting down game studios. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our Patreon producers, Kajoma01, Bumble Smash, and Carrie, and our Super Gamer sponsors, Julie Bates, Mama Mare, and David Matthews. If you want to be awesome just like those folks, head over to patreon.com/supergamerboys where you can support us starting at just $1 a month. And you can get episodes early and ad-free, such as this show, as well as access to Patreon exclusive shows, such as Super Later Boys Episode 8, we're up to now, and Season 1 of Super Gamer Book Club, only available there, hosted by Zetch, old host back in the day. So go check that out, and we'll talk more about that later. Before we get started here, I do want to give a huge shout out to Jack Sriracha, Yate, and DJ Trooz for allowing us to use their music on our show. Today, we're listening to my DJ Trooz playlist. So go show him some love. Links will be in the show description. He streams. Go follow him on Twitch. He's always playing through either Halo or a Digimon game, which
I like that. Because I'm familiar with old DJ Trooz over there. Love that guy. It tickles me that his Twitch name is Trouser Schnauzer, but the pronunciation of his DJ name is DJ Trooz. It's not shortened to DJ Trooz, it's Trooz.
Yeah, I thought about that as well at one point, but I was like, you know what, maybe it seems like he's trying to get away from the Trouser Schnauzer, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, possibly.
But I don't know. I think it's a pretty good name, honestly.
Okay.
And without further ado, it's now time to check the mail. Mm-hmm. And once again, we have a doozy from Ranger. So if you guys aren't familiar, this is supposed to be mailbag. Like, people can write in quick little questions for us to answer, on the show. And basically what it's turned into is our buddy Ranger every week. Not only does he refuse to submit through our Discord, which is, easy, quick,
probably where you're hoping for it to be
more
submitted.
Fun. Yeah, exactly. It's just one place I have to pay attention to. He refuses and instead goes to our website, supergamerboys.com, and uses the contact us form we have on there. And some people say, hey, you could just get rid of the forum. But then I say, that just seems like bullying at that point, though. This is how he wants to communicate with us. That's fine. So here is a absolute novel from Ranger. Never a bridge too far. Ranger is on the radar. Boys, I have to say, there are so many gaming thoughts swimming around at the moment. So let's go fishing. I recently read that EA CEO stated that Dragon Age the Veilguard failed because it didn't have a live service component. I'm guessing perhaps it's a reference to a game layout similar to Warhammer Space Marine 2 that has both. Now this has me thinking, because Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Avowed are strictly single-player games without live service that released recently, and they both have quickly outpaced Dragon Age in sales and current optics. And the current optics they are both very successful. I also read recently that a presenter at DICE had revealed that surveys suggested that a large portion of gamers are simply not interested in romance in games. Dragon Age the Veilguard has romance storylines that the internet quickly had a lot to say about. However, my understanding is Deliverance 2 does have romance quest, but Avowed does not. The director of Avowed stated they chose not to go the direction of romance and decided instead to focus on thoughtful relationships. My questions for this week are, what do you think about single-player games having multiplayer services? What are your feelings about romance in games, or is romance a necessary component in single-player games? And if you were designing a new single-player game right now, what would that structure look like? I personally don't need romance options in my games. I very much simply enjoy going on an adventure with a group of buddies. Shout out Final Fantasy 15, or a ragtag bunch to save the world. Single-player, I'm ready for Avowed on PS5. Let's go. P.S. I don't know where you are with Amazon's Reacher, but get on it. Season 3 is airing now. P.P.S. Captain America Brave New World was absolutely terrible.
And the sandwich that I had for lunch, mid.
Yeah. So these questions. Number one, what do you think about single player games having multiplayer services? Do you think this is a must nowadays? Do you enjoy it personally? No. What are your thoughts, Connor? You look like you have an opinion.
I don't need that at all. I can't even think of the last single player game, especially modern single player game, that I've sought out and thought this needs a multiplayer option, or even tried to play the multiplayer. I know that some games have offered them in the past. I want to say that, wasn't it expansion that the original Last of Us had, where there was or was that included in the original game?
The Last of Us
had Factions, it was called, wasn't it?
Factions. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that the multiplayer component follow-up, whatever it was supposed to be for after part 2, was shelved.
Yeah.
As have been a lot of live service games. I just don't need it. I do think back, however, to single player games of yesteryear, a lot of we're talking the GameCube, PS2, Xbox era, or N64 era of games that I played primarily for the single-player campaign. I'm thinking of Banjo-Kazooie. I know that a lot of people did this. A counter-argument against what I'm saying might be GoldenEye, which has a campaign, but the multiplayer was just as, if not more popular. I love the multiplayer minigame version things that we used to get. Yeah. In some older games. I realized I just named 2 Rare titles, so maybe it had to do with how they made games. It's just a Rare thing. Yeah, but while I have enjoyed that in the past in single-player games, it's not something I'm ever seeking out on them. If it's there and great, cool, but...
Yeah, I feel similarly in that it's kind of a hard question to answer, because my answer is actually how much of a part of it is the multiplayer? Sure. Elden Ring is a game that the multiplayer is sort of swept up and designed into the DNA of the single player. So it has a really cool, meaningful multiplayer component that I would not want them to get rid of. But I don't think you have to tack on a multiplayer service to your single player game. I think we learned that in the Xbox 360 generation and PS3 generation, hence this Last of Us multiplayer.
So Uncharted had as well, didn't it? Yeah.
They felt like they had to wedge it into everything, and that's definitely not necessary. But if you want to design a really meaningful multiplayer to your single player, go for it. Yeah, because sounds good. Just don't do like a Suicide Squad, right? I think that's what we all don't want. Is like, yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, if it's a single player game, 9 times out of 10, I'm fine with it just being fully single player. Like I'm not. Listeners of this show know, like I'm not necessarily a multiplayer guy, unless it's couch co-op, sitting down playing some Mario Kart or Mario Party with some friends or something, like that's different. But yeah, if it's done right, like you're right. I didn't even think of like Elden Ring. Like there is a multiplayer component built into it, but it's so seamless. Yeah. Like if you weren't really even paying attention, you wouldn't know that's what was the case, as far as like people rating you and stuff like showing up. But then it does have the option to go and fight some stuff with your buddies to the point where, people enjoyed it so much. They're doing the spinoff. It comes out this month, doesn't it? Or next month? The new
Night Rain
trio co-op game.
Talking about the meaningfulness, Jeremy, and maybe another word we could use is like intentionality in the design. Maybe that's everything that's a huge component that can make or break it. Not always. I'm sure that there could be some intentionality in designing a component, whether it's a totally separate side thing or something that's involved in the single player campaign. But that probably is the big thing. There's a game that we're going to, I think, maybe touch on later in this episode that is a huge component for a lot of people I know in their experience of what could be a single player game, but often isn't. So,
Well, let's jump over this question number 2 then. What are your feelings about romance in games, or is romance a necessary component of a single player game moving forward? I know it's definitely become more and more popular in general, and especially since Baldur's Gate 3 just last year. Like it feels like now all of a sudden all games are like, well, we can do that too. But is that something you guys enjoy, like an aspect you enjoy in a game, or is it kind of, again, like just another fun add-on if done right, or is it just more annoying?
How about you, Mustache?
I was gonna throw it to you. Well, here, okay. So first of all, I'm interested in knowing more about Gary. You're taking the temperature and you're feeling like there's more romance in games now post Baldur's Gate 3. I'm actually feeling, but I've also been playing a lot less new games recently. I have felt like romance has gone way down in games since the Xbox PS3 generation. Like I know this is like the second time we're kind of bringing that up, but it's like Dragon
romance
Age
is dead, Jeremy.
Well, the common thing everyone says is horniness is dead, right? Like everything is very sexless. But I also do think that like, just like tacking on a multiplayer element to your game, a lot of people just tacked on romance options to games. And maybe that isn't always great, but my thing is narratively, since love and romance and sex are all such huge parts of the human experience, so they're so closely and emotionally tied to who we are, the fabric of who we are, it feels like saying, like, is violence a necessary component to a game? It's like, well, I don't know. What game are you making? It might be an extremely necessary component, or it might not matter at all. So I guess that's my answer.
That's really great. I feel like I didn't play a lot of games with romance options up until the last handful of years. I think the first one I can think of was Fable, and that is like probably one of the games that had the least. It was so unnecessary to include that because there was almost nothing that was really additive to the game that I can remember. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. Whereas I've played other games in recent memory that have been kind of a mixed bag. Some of the letdowns, but one game that I would say it didn't feel super meaningful in was, Jeremy, we both played Fire Emblem Engage 2 years ago.
Right.
Love that game. Fully got involved with the romance mechanic, but I kind of created my own narrative for why that was meaningful, because I think there was some in-game stuff that happened, like you maybe had a special bond with your romantic partner, but I feel like I was doing a lot of the creating myself, whereas I've played other games like Mass Effect 2 in the last year, where it felt a lot more meaningful, and it in so many ways, including also the little narrative I spun in my head of why I got my character together with someone. So I've just had such a mixed bag, and it's so new to me that I'm just going to keep echoing what Jeremy says because I don't have any original thoughts.
Dude, okay, so this is crazy. It's so crazy that you bring up Fire Emblem, right? Because I didn't even think about Fire Emblem until you said that. Now, this is no comment on like Three Houses or Engage because I don't even remember romance in those games or like how that played out. But did either of you guys play Awakenings?
No, but you have to go down this road because this is huge.
This is huge, right? So in that game, you romance. I never got to this part in the game, so this is all stuff that I've just heard. But like, there's a romance option where you actually have kids in the game, and there's a time travel mechanic where you then go into the future and play as your children in the future, like they become the heroes. So like, is sex and romance like a necessary part of that game? Absolutely, because it's like there's a whole narrative arc where you get to like actually like play as the results of that choice. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So it can be done very well, I think is the point, or it can be done in the more modern Fire Emblem sense, I guess, which is like a letdown. Okay.
Yeah, I guess like my thought too, because I mentioned there being kind of more games out there that are offering it. I was trying to like go through my head when you were like question kind of what games I might have been talking about, and I guess you're right. In the main like AAA gaming sphere, there hasn't been much more other than Dragon Age and whatchamacallit, Baldur's Gate. But in indie games, I've noticed it a lot more. It's definitely a thing like, what was it?
Yeah.
There's like Boyfriend Dungeon. There's there's another one where you can like
Dream Daddy.
Dream Daddy. Yeah, there's one where you can like date everything. Like you can date doors and date windows. Like you just go like date stuff, inanimate objects in your house. Like dating and like relationships is like big in the indie game sphere right now.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess in those instances, I haven't played any of those games, but like obviously that seems necessary because that's the whole game pretty much. Like that's the whole point of the game is dating, and it's done in like a humorous, fun way. It's like, okay, yeah, that could be really great. But I don't know, honestly, in general, unless it, does it extremely well, I don't know if I couldn't care less about it. Even in Baldur's Gate 3, like it's fun to kind of like mess around, be like, oh, I see what I can do. But even then I'm kind of like, this isn't the point of the game to me. It's not to see, who I can, hook up with. It's like, I just want to fight some stuff and play D&D in a video game, basically.
I will say too, this is how I find out there's no romance in Avowed. And I don't know why. I'm bummed. I kind of want to romance somebody.
I don't think I knew that either. I knew Avowed is extremely streamlined, but I didn't realize that there was no romance.
Well, it says, I guess it's the light spoiler. It says it has no romance quest.
Okay.
Apparently there's thoughtful relationships, but not romance quest. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So
far, there still could be some sort of relationship type things.
Oh, I'm holding out hope. And if not, I'm creating my own narrative just like I always do.
Yeah, there you go.
I think a lot of times the way that romance options are expressed in games is actually just boils down to a kind of boring mini game and kind of a more like, if you're really into the simulation of Mass Effect, then it's a payoff. But like if you're just there to play, like to blow stuff up, I think sometimes it's not particularly fun to do a romance option. But I think it was just like the last question. It's like, boy, it sure depends, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So he has the last question here. If you were designing a new single player game right now, what would that structure look like? I personally don't need romance options in my game. I very much simply enjoy blah, blah. So I guess what he's asking here is based off those last two questions. If we were to make a game, would you like to incorporate those into like a game idea that you had? Like, would you want to have romance? Would you want to have multiplayer services? Or if you were head of a game studio, you're like, no, I'd rather just go down the straight, just do single player game, just keep it, keep multiplayer out of here. I don't know. Is that something you guys have ever thought about? Like if you were to make something up?
Connor has.
Yeah, like me and some friends, including, friend of our show, Jacques Molladou, and our friend Nick Park, are working on a single player game right now that's more of a point and click adventure than anything, like a comedy focused game. And I will say there are relationships in the game between characters. There is actually, now that I'm saying this, there is a romance component into it. So I guess that speaks for itself. But it kind of came naturally the way that we developed like the sort of narrative, and it was something that even in like the first I don't know 6 months of the game that we were working on was not present until it sort of presented itself. I would have to ask Jacques, who's our real narrative designer, like when that component made its way known. So I would have said no, but here I am working on a game that has it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, I'm not developing a game, but if I was, I think my answer is that I would just try to make it funny. So kind of like Connor and his team are trying to do. I would just try to make it funny. So like, I think there's a lot of potential jokes in the romance option space. I can't really see that happening in the multiplayer space, but give me enough time and I might be able to think of some jokes around there too.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, multiplayer, I would not be interested in. If I was going to write anything, I'd want it to be single player. Just, I mean, maybe a co-op game. That would be cool, but no, like online. I'm not going to make like a next Fortnite or something, or anything along those lines. But yeah, as far as romance, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Connor, where it's like, obviously, if you're just writing a story, the next thing you know, it's like naturally just kind of falls on your lap. Like, oh yeah, no, this probably should be in there. This can be in there. Then why not? Why hold back? Why not put it in? If it's going to serve the story.
Yeah.
So
for us, I won't like elaborate on it too much, but for us, it the way that it developed, even since it entered our game, is one of the most meaningful decisions you can kind of make, because you are essentially choosing between this romance and something else, essentially, and you can do either one, and either it just depends on the player, and you'll see how the world reacts to that, I guess.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well,
and I haven't seen Reacher, but I've heard it's good, and I do not plan to see Captain America: Brave New World. So
I'm loving this take Ranger has on Captain America: Brave New World. I did see this, and it's like I cannot imagine a movie that's going to rank lower for it from this year. Like I can't imagine going to the theater and seeing something worse than Captain America: Brave New World.
Wow.
Like it was that bad. I saw Hard Eyes. Another movie that I think is pretty bad, and it's still better than Captain America: Brave New World.
Amazing.
Oh no. Yeah, I've only heard bad things, which is so sad. I don't know. Just to jump on the Marvel tangent real quick here. I mean, since Endgame, there's been some good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but in general, it's been a lot of like mid to bad, and I don't know. It's just such a bummer. Like to come off of that high of Endgame and all, like everything before. Like everything before was so great. Like yeah, there was misses in there too, but it was few and far between. And then to like come in this new era where it's just been like, bummer. Yeah. And again, there's been a couple good things, but it's a couple good things and a lot of mid to bad instead of a lot of great things and just a couple mid to bad.
Yeah, it stinks because there's definitely first of all, the thing I've liked the best that I've seen is I saw the first season and change of Loki, and I personally really liked that.
Very good, yeah.
But it stinks because it's kind of like when like some games are bad. Sometimes it's just that the game is bad, and another time it's that like bad actors are like, oh, it's bad because it's woke, and it's like that's not the same thing. But it sucks when when like a property or like a piece of media that they'll attach that to it and then pile on, and you're like, well, it's bad, but not for the reasons you think it's bad.
Right.
That's where I come off.
100%.
Fantastic Four will be good. That's going to be good.
That looks good.
It looks great. I think I just think that movie is going to be good. I don't know why. I just have a feeling.
Who's doing that one again? James Gunn is doing Superman.
James Gunn's doing Superman. I don't know who's actually doing Fantastic Four. That cast is just really great, I think.
Okay, cool.
So far, that cast is... Have you seen the trailer for it, Connor?
Yeah, but I don't even remember who's in it.
It's like Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby and that guy from The Bear who's the cousin.
Oh yes, he's got like a Welsh name or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I'm so in now, Jeremy.
I mean, I'm a Marvel hater at my core, but I every now and then I'll root for it. And I think Fantastic Four is one I'm kind of rooting for it.
Also, is that this year? Not to keep us on this tangent. I think
it is, yeah.
July.
Well, if it's when I have A-list, let's go.
This is a quick tangent. I saw Captain America, by the way, at school. At my school that I'm going to. Yeah. And afterwards, Kevin Feige came out and did like a talk back so we could like ask him questions about it. And it was like insane how no one in the room could admit it was a bad movie. Like everyone we all just watched a bad movie and everyone was like, congrats on the film, Kevin. Like it was it was and you can like look online in front of him showing him reviews just pouring in of how bad it was. Yeah, it was really nuts, but
that's wild. How awkward would that be? I mean, who's gonna yell out at Kevin Feige?
I mean,
like,
I'm not saying anyone should have said it. Yeah.
Hey, buddy, that movie wasn't great. Like, that was not good. Can you run that one back? Like,
Hollywood is just such a weird place where everyone can't admit defeat. You just have to keep going. Like, nope, it's good. I swear it's good.
The new Fantastic Four, because you're wondering, directed by Matt Shakman. Is that he directed WandaVision?
Oh, I heard that was good.
WandaVision's pretty good. I saw that.
Episodes of The Great. He's directed some It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Fargo, Game of Thrones. So
a lot of good shows.
A lot of television.
A lot of television.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sweet.
All right.
Thanks, Garrett.
Well, that is it for the mailbag. Remember, if you want to write in, you can go to our Discord, supergamerboys.com/Discord. Join for free over there. Or you can do what Ranger continues to do and go to supergamerboys.com and fill out that contact us form the old-fashioned way. And now it is time for the nerdy nudes. And then this is the part where Adrian would be like, it's now time for the nerdy nudes. I miss him. Adrian, we miss you.
He's just eating so much cake right now.
So much cake. Rest in peace, Adrian. He's not dead. All right. Well, let's get into this. Our first news story here comes to us from... That's not how that works. There we go. Polygon. This first news story coming from Polygon, written by Michael McWhorter. Everything announced at Pokémon Presents 2025. To be honest, I don't know how much we're actually going to read the article unless we need some details, but it's a nice little guideline for what all was announced if you didn't have a chance to watch through the Pokemon Day Pokemon Presents we got. It's Pokemon Day 2025, and that means a new Pokemon Presents, which is full of reveals and updates on all things Pokemon, including our first real look at Pokemon Legends ZA, a new Pokemon multiplayer game, and more. As usual, there are a lot of smaller announcements and updates to the Pokemon Company's live service games. And here we go. So the first thing on this list, now, I guess beforehand, did you guys have a chance to watch Pokemon Presents?
I snuck it in today.
Nice.
And I will say, with all the Pokemon Presents, I skimmed it.
100%.
I can't sit there for 20 minutes and listen to stuff about Unite. That's like, I have boundaries.
No, 100%. I always watch later. I don't watch it live. So that way, for that exact reason, all the live service stuff, like, I don't need to learn about Pokemon Sleep. I don't need Pokemon Unite.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did watch it as well at the Thursday morning at like 8:30. It was not a 6 a.m. day for me.
Yeah. But I guess before we get in here too, what were kind of your general overall thoughts? Like, were you pretty happy with some of the announcements? Was it kind of just like, it's fine, or bad?
For me, it was exactly that Dewey meme from Malcolm in the Middle where it's his birthday and he's sitting in front of like a disappointing cake and he says, I expect nothing and I'm still let down. Like,
yeah.
I was such mid to low expectations because these usually have almost nothing for me. as someone who has played a lot of the Pokemon games from the past and has really gotten frustrated with the direction of the series, mostly with like the less of like the gameplay and mostly how the effort, the kind of the common sentiment of like the effort put in to the quality of whether it's, you know, how the game runs or how it looks from the Pokemon Company and Game Freak. But I was still disappointed because I was even like kind of looking forward to seeing what ZA was like.
Yeah.
As someone who liked but fell off of Arceus.
Arceus was good.
What I saw from ZA, like, which is the only thing I was really looking forward to, although I did watch the Pokemon Concierge this week because it went to YouTube. And it's really charming.
Yeah.
ZA has me. It looks like it's probably going to be a fun game with cool gameplay, but I don't know how that they continue to release games that look and run like this. Even after admitting, like, it was crazy that the Pokemon Company, to me, admitted, like, took a little accountability of like, yes, we understand there are some concerns with how this Scarlet and Violet run and look, and yet this is the product they're releasing. That's where I land.
Still just doing it. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Connor? Jeremy? What was your kind of sentiment on the overall presents here?
Not for me. Not my Pokemon. No, I don't know. I didn't. Unite is not my thing. They don't talk about the card game in these.
There is
they did
just
briefly.
a little bit.
They did briefly. I must have.
They basically just announced. They just announced
it.
the new pack set came out Friday.
Which Jeremy, I know you're opening those bad boys.
Oh my God! I spent $20 right away and opened up 20 packs. I had to get in there. Anyways, I love that Pokemon trading card game Pocket, and I'm gonna play the hell out of ZA Pokemon Arceus ZA. I played the hell out of Scarlet and Violet as well. I don't know what to say. I wish they looked better. I wish they played better. I wish they just were better. I'm gonna play every single one of them, I think. Part of that is because I bond with my niece over it. We both play the campaigns and trade and stuff. But I just wish it all was just better. It's just such a weird bummer that they can't look textured. Like nothing looks textured in the game. Like you can't touch anything.
I was watching the instead of watching the Pokemon Presents, I watched the Min-Max reaction to it live. Well, not live, but the live recording they did when it aired. It's because they're one of my favorite outlets. I think they're lovely.
Yeah.
And legitimately, in the first shot of the trailer for that game, one of their correspondents, Haley, points out that there's immediate pop-in the trailer. Yeah. And I'm like, how do you not even just make sure your trailer looks better than the game's actually going to run?
Right.
But I say all this and I complain, and I know that people were really, from what I heard, people were very positive, including, I want to say Jeremy, about how the game played and the overall quality of the most recent generation, despite how it looked and performed. And this game could play really great. Arceus didn't look good and it ran terribly, but I think I bought it because it was more in this sort of wild world where there's not a lot of people around. But now I'm in a city and I'm like, what? City don't look like this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think Arceus also looked and played better than Scarlet and Violet, which is a weird thing. It's like they're weirdly so similar, but they're just also kind of these weird differences. And it's it's sort of I'm like, are there two teams? There have to be two different teams making these but then they're also so similar. So it's I don't really get it, but yeah, I also am a sucker for this region too. This is the X and Y region, I think. And
yes, it is.
And that's my second favorite gen. So I'm like,
well, you famously like France.
I love France, baby. Give me a bike. So I'm gonna be thrilled to try this one out. I'm not gonna lie though. Similarly to Connor, I did fall off. I never beat this game, Arceus. So
yeah, so overall with the Pokemon Presents, I kind of felt I think similar to you guys, although I had a little bit of hope going in, so it was a little more of a letdown because there were some rumors, which I don't know why I ever believe them, but I just got excited because it's a dream that eventually we can play the old Pokemon games again. So there was like some rumor that either A, they would be coming to Nintendo Online services, or there is some rumor that was going around about like a remake, or not even a remake, but just kind of like a remaster bundle pack for the games. I was like, oh wow, that'd be so sick. Like I got all hyped up. I'm like, it probably isn't going to happen, but how cool would that be? And then when there was just like nothing, you opened
your heart, Garrett, and that was your mistake, was to be open for love.
Yeah.
Does your family enjoy the Pokemon series?
I do. My oldest, he's 7. Doesn't quite know how to read well enough to enjoy it yet. He enjoys Pokemon. Like he has cards, like he collects like physical cards. Whenever I'm ripping packs on my phone on TCG Pocket, he's helping me rip them open. So we do bond over Pokemon, but he's not actually played a game yet. I keep telling him, I was like, learn to read. Then, then you can play all the Pokemon games to your heart's content. That's so at this point I'm a solo Pokemon player, but I did love Arceus. I didn't finish that as well. I kind of fell off. I feel like it's a common theme, which is weird because I loved it so much. Like
Same
everything
here.
I played, I really enjoyed it. And then it was almost like something else came out. I got distracted and never went back, which
I'll tell you what I got distracted by in the year of 2022. That was when I had and both of Jeremy will remember, and Garrett, you will be in full support of. That's when I had my Metal Gear journey.
Oh yeah, baby. There you go. Yep.
So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can skip any game you want for Metal Gear. That's fine.
If you spell Solid Snake backwards, it's Ekans, right, Jeremy?
It's Ekans. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Solid Ekans.
Solid Ekans. There you go. Yeah. Fantastic. So overall, like I was bummed on this because I was really hoping for more, and then it was just what we got, which wasn't a ton.
I guess maybe unless Garrett's going to read down the list of stuff that was announced there, I will say if you guys haven't checked out Pokemon Concierge, it's on Netflix, but it's also the first 4 episodes are on YouTube. And I threw that on Friday night as I was working on my PlayStation Vita, and it's not anything spectacular, but the animation's super charming. It's really cute. It might warm our cold dead hearts if you ever need that.
There you go. I did watch the first episode when we had Netflix, and then we got rid of Netflix, and I never got to finish it. So if they're on YouTube now, I need to go finish it up.
What's it called again? One more time?
Pokemon Concierge. Jeremy, it's this like stop motion Pokemon show.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it.
It's wonderful.
Anyway.
Very cute.
It's cool.
So I'm probably not going to read through a ton of this because, as mentioned before, it's with a lot of live service stuff that we don't care about. But there was a couple notable things. The first one I want to talk about here is Pokemon Champions, which the Pokemon Company announced a new title focused on Pokemon battles inspired by the core series game. Pokemon Champions will let trainers from around the world pit their Pokemon skills together. Skills against each other across mobile devices and Nintendo Switch. It even connects with Pokemon Home, letting players bring over Pokemon from other games. Game Freak is overseeing the development of Pokemon Champions, which is being handled by the Pokemon Works. And I saw in another article it being compared to like Pokemon Stadium and stuff like that, Pokemon Coliseum type game, which if that's the case, I love those games. Like those were fantastic. If it's kind of like a spiritual successor to that. Now, my worry is it's actually probably more like multiplayer than those, like where you just jump into battles. They didn't really give a lot of details, but
yes.
I don't know. Did you guys, did this strike your fancy at all? Or were you just kind of like, nah, like not for me? Because I know, because if it is like purely multiplayer, like, I don't know if does that even interest you? Like just to basically jump in and battle with random people around the world in a Pokemon battle real quick, or?
Yeah, my instinct is to say not for me, but if it's a fun way for people to jump in battles and just exercise that muscle, cool. I'll be curious to see what are the rosters made of? How do you are they Pokemon that you can like sort of transfer a clone over from games you've already played. I think it has some connectivity with home.
Yeah, so it does have home. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a clone. It usually, like, unfortunately, the way home usually works is you full on, like, transfer it out of whatever game you have it in and then move it to another world, essentially. But
yeah, you change the custody of your Pokemon. No, I don't know. Not particularly for me, but I'll be interested to like follow what it ends up being.
Now, if it does have single player component and it is like a Coliseum game or Pokemon Stadium, would you be more interested?
I think the answer is yes, because I really do enjoy the Stadium games. And I even playing with like rental teams, I've had a lot of fun with that in the past.
Yeah. What about you, Jeremy? Did this strike your fancy at all?
No, but I could be swayed, you know, if it comes out and it lights the world on fire and it's really good and everyone loves it, I could be convinced. I think I never played the Stadium games growing up. So that was a big blind spot for me, and didn't even at the time understand the appeal, and then much later kind of get it, but never. Yeah.
I never played Stadium, but when I got a GameCube, I got Coliseum. Ooh. And I loved that game. That game was so much fun. I mean, that opened up the world to like Shadow Pokemon. Like, is that one of the earliest games where that's even introduced? Like, I'm trying to think of even before that. There was.
I wonder if it was it that or was it Gale of Darkness that did that?
It might have been
the other GameCube title.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, and I love that because that was really like for me, the first 3D Pokemon game I'd ever played, you know, because you just go wander around the world, you're catching Pokemon, you're building your teams out to a certain extent. Love that game. So if it is like in that vein, and if it's a mobile game, is it going to be free to play? I don't know. Maybe not. There's a lot of things that could go right with this, you know, if it's like, okay, it's free to play or even cheap on an iPhone, I'd pick it up if it's more single player focused or has some like adventure aspects to it. But there's also a lot that I feel like could go wrong with it as well, you know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. The next thing announced was, or not the next thing we're going to talk about is the Pokemon Legends ZA. We already kind of shared a little bit, I guess, our sentiments on that, but real quick little blurb. We finally got a look at gameplay and release window. The upcoming Switch game set in the Kalos region's Lumiose City. Players will select from starters Totodile, Chikorita, and Tepig, and explore a city undergoing a high-tech urban redevelopment that caters to both humans and Pokemon. Pokemon Legends ZA will include Mega Evolutions and is slated for release in Nintendo Switch late 2025. Now, I assume they say Nintendo Switch, but do you think this will be a split launch, Switch and Switch 2? Or do you think they just don't want to say it's a Switch 2 game yet? Because technically the Switch 2 hasn't been like fully announced.
I mean, it looks like a Switch 1 game, I'll tell you that right now. So
it does kind of look like a Switch 1 game.
It looks so fucking bad. Yeah. Sorry for
no, it's fine. It looks bad. Yeah, it looks that bad. Yeah. You're spot on with that.
I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I kind of can't believe that the window for I mean, maybe that's just when this game is projected to be ready. And it's unfortunately when we are theoretically going to be months into the Switch 2 generation, because we still don't know when that comes out. We'll learn probably on April 2nd when they do the Switch 2 Direct. But man, that game coming out in, I don't know, November, December on the new console, there's a lot of concern there, but maybe they just don't care. And it's also the Pokemon Company. It's probably not really Nintendo. It's not Nintendo who's dictating this release window, so who's to say?
Yeah. I don't know. My hope is that it would be coming to Switch 2, because it seems wild, like, hey, everyone's gonna be stoked about this new hardware, get this new hardware, and then they're like, oh, and here's a Switch game from our own. Yeah. You know? It's like, wait, what? The first Pokemon game we're gonna be able to play on here is not even a Switch 2 game? Seems crazy. But I also agree, you'd think it would look a lot better. Unless they don't want to show gameplay from the Switch 2, because maybe it is on both. Maybe it's higher performing on Switch 2, but until that Direct happens, they don't want to show us that.
That would, no, I
sounds
don't think
dumb,
so.
But
they're just lowering our expectations.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it just is probably. I bet. And what do you guys think about Metroid Prime 4? That's a good. I think that's an interesting question too. Do we think that's going to have a Switch 2?
I still don't know what their
grade.
I don't know.
I would like to think the reason it's been delayed so long is because it is Switch 2 and they just haven't. Because other than that logo reveal, we haven't had any other update. Like it was supposed to come out last year and they never said anything. It just never came out and they've kept their mouth shut. So I'm hoping the fact that we haven't heard anything about it, it is a Switch 2 game now. And because they already announced, hey, we've restarted development. Like that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And then maybe they're like, hey, let's just start over on the new console. That's what I think. That's what I hope. I hope it's just a Switch 2 title. Even if it's a launch title, that'd be sick. Imagine that. At the direct that comes up. Is that in April? That
would be really cool. April 2nd at 6 a.m. So good. I'm not like, do I have to wake up at 5:50 on that day? Come on.
Oh man. Yeah. I hope that's the case with that game. Cause it was originally supposed to be coming out last year. And then I love how it's just like, and we're not going to say anything about it. This guy came and went. No, didn't talk about it. But Pokemon Legends EA, gameplay wise, I don't know. I think the setting is what throws me off the biggest too, just to kind of wrap up my thoughts on it. There was something about Arceus being so far in the past and being this an interesting new world where this is, I guess, also a new world, but it just, I don't know. To me, there was like scenes where it just looked post-apocalyptic. Like it was like weird, like the wild areas of the city where it's just like, is this The Last of Us with Pokemon? Like what's going on? Like this is really weird, like set pieces and stuff. And they were running around. It just didn't make sense. Didn't really click for me. I either want it like, more wild and open or just give me straight city. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird mix at times, but I'm also not super familiar with this world. My last Pokemon games were like Ruby and Sapphire. I never got a DS or 3DS growing up. I mean, I do now. I have a 3DS, and so I've started going back and playing some of those older games. But at the time, like I don't have the nostalgia for that. You know, I had XY, Black Y, anything like that. I don't know much about those generations other than what I pull in my TCG pocket packs. You know, so that's about it. Any last thoughts on that before we move on here? All right. Well, everything else is live service stuff. If you want your Pokemon Cafe remix news, or Pokemon Sleep news, find another podcast, I guess, or go read this article from Polygon. All right. Let's move on to this next news story here. This next news story comes to us from Game Rant, written by Raul Landaverde. I don't know. I'll go with that first one. Monster Hunter Wilds is having some trouble on Steam. Monster Hunter Wilds has experienced some trouble on Steam during release day, with many players reporting technical issues and other bugs while attempting to launch or play the game. The issues led players to submit negative reviews on Steam, and Capcom released a PC troubleshooting guide to help those encountering issues. Released on February 28th, Monster Hunter Wilds quickly reached an incredible milestone on Steam with well over 1 million players at its all-time peak. Heading into the game's launch, Monster Hunter Wilds received widespread acclaim and earned a mighty rating on OpenCritic. Thanks to its 89 average score and 95% recommendation rate from critics, the game's launch was far from perfect for fans, however. Monster Hunter Wilds faced scrutiny from its player base due to the game's microtransactions, and now Steam players are unhappy with the issues they're facing in the PC versions. Monster Hunter Wilds review rating is now mixed on Steam, with thousands of players sharing their experiences running into technical issues and other problems in the game's user review section in Steam forums. Instances of game crashes, shaders not loading on both NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, even critical system crashes, which cause blue screen errors. So there's a whole slew of problems going on with this game on PC. I haven't heard anything about console, though, so I'm just going to assume that it's working good on consoles at this point. But they are working on, they already had multiple post-launch updates and working on more to come. But I wanted to check in with you folks. Have either of you been able to play the Monster Hunter Wilds game or any of the betas leading up? I know there's some open betas and closed betas leading up. Have you touched any of that?
Not me. No.
Not me.
Okay.
No. I actually have plans to get Monster Hunter Wilds at some point. I don't know when that's going to be because my backlog is a little bit intimidating right now, and I know we have a new games club. Connor and I have a new games club on the horizon. So, but I would love to connect with a Monster Hunter game on my show, Video Games and Comedy show this week. We kind of discussed a little bit, and something I was saying over there was like, that I've tried them all for about a couple hours each, and keep thinking, oh, this is going to be the one, and then it just doesn't get its hooks in me for whatever reason. But it always is kind of, sucks when it comes out and then like the PC version's bad or, it doesn't run good on stuff. So that's a bummer. I'm sure they'll fix that though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure eventually it'll be optimized and fixed up there. But yeah, it is kind of like such a bummer, throw a wet blanket on the whole situation because it was, it had fantastic reviews. Everyone loved it. Everyone's head over heels to this game.
Crazy good reviews. Yeah.
And then for it to just kind of just break because everyone downloads it and it's like, it doesn't work. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's I feel bad for the team because I'm sure they put everything into this game and it was getting well-deserved praise just to have it full 180 on them. Wait a second, what's going on here? But my only experience with Monster Hunter is Monster Hunter Worlds, so the last game that came out a few years ago. And I really enjoyed my time with that. I didn't put a ton of time in it, but it was one of those things where, when was that? I want to say, boy, it was really close to a release of some other big games. Wasn't it near Final Fantasy VII Remake? The same or similar year?
I'll take a look. I don't know.
I think World was 29. I want to say it was 2018 or 2019.
It says 18, at least on Wikipedia.
Okay. Yeah. So it was a couple years before that.
Maybe it was
Okay.
Red Dead 2, Spider-Man, God of War.
There was huge Monster Hunter Worlds DLC. Oh, Rise was a game that came out much later. Is that what you're thinking of?
I think it was Worlds, but yeah, I think Connor hit it. It was probably God of War or something like that caught my attention, and I just kind of fell off. And especially Monster Hunter having more of a multiplayer vibe, it's more fun with friends. At the time, I didn't know anyone else playing it. Although now Adrian, he's played everyone to completion, loves this series. So I'm all right, I got a buddy. You just gotta find some time. I am very much looking forward to this game eventually picking it up, but I'm right there with you, Jeremy. I just have so much on my plate. I feel like it seems daunting to jump into this massive game at the moment. But what about you, Connor? Are you interested in checking this game out, or is this not really your cup of tea?
It's not that it's not my cup of tea. In a vacuum, if I were shot off in a scenario, Garrett, or hypothetically, I was in space and had a few and I could pick a few video games, and I was, knowing that I was going to be jettisoned off to in a siloed experience for a while, I think I would really love a Monster Hunter. And all that I hear about it sounds fun. It sounds fun, so fun to team up with my buddies to specialize in a class to take down a big monster in an extended boss fight. But it's just not something I've let myself dip into yet.
Okay. Real quick. That sounds like a pretty sick show idea. You guys should probably I think you could workshop that into something.
I didn't even think of it as a show.
There might be something there where, imagine if you asked people what games they would want to take in a space scenario.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Because there might be only one version of each game, we might have to find a way that we could all pick fairly. I'll workshop it.
Yeah, we'll workshop this idea.
Shout out to Space Solace. So good. So I don't have much more to add to this article other than I'm sad this has happened to them. I hope they can get all this stuff fixed soon. But hit me up, I guess. That's what I'll do. I'll do a shout out here in the show. Hit me up. If you're playing Monster Hunter Wilds and you have thoughts on the game, let me know. It'd be cool to share them here on the show, maybe next week or something, or next episode, 2 weeks. Or if you're playing and want to carry me hard, then let me know. And I would love to join you. But very, very cool. All right. Let's touch on this last news story. This is a sad one. We usually try to not end on bummers, but there wasn't a lot.
Welcome to 2025, Garrett.
Yeah, exactly. This last news story comes to us from PC Gamer, written by Andy Chalk. Warner Brothers is closing Monolith, Player First Games, and WB San Diego, and has canceled its Wonder Woman game. So, just a month after Warner Brothers Games chief David Haddad announced that he's stepping down after 12 years in the role, the company is closing its Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and WB San Diego studios and canceling the Wonder Woman game first revealed in 2021. The closures, first reported by Bloomberg, were confirmed by Warner in a statement provided to PC Gamer. We have had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones, a Warner Brothers game spokesman said. After careful consideration, we're closing 3 of our development studios, which I mentioned previously. This is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consist within them. The rep also confirmed that Monolith's Wonder Woman game has been canceled. Our hope was to give players and fans the highest quality experience possible for the iconic character, and unfortunately, this is no longer possible within our strategic priorities. The spokesperson said, "This is another tough decision as we recognize Monolith's storied history of delivering epic fan experiences through amazing games."
Is this just like it seems like an AI-generated statement to me.
It is such a garbage word salad there.
Gosh, sorry to interrupt you, Garrett.
No, I was thinking the same exact thing. What a sad day. So Player First Games is known for multiverses, the free-to-play kind of like fighting games, similar to like Smash Bros, but with Warner Brothers characters. I never played it myself, but everything I've always watched of people playing it, like people streaming it, it looked like a blast. Like all these fun, like WB properties coming together, beating each other up. And then Monolith, known for, they were working on Wonder Woman, which was everyone was super stoked for, looking forward to. But they're also known for the Lord of the Rings, Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games, which had like the legendary Nemesis system, which there's another article I was reading. Apparently that's locked, like the patent's locked down for like 10 years. So no one can even touch that system for 10 years, basically, until that expires. Unless I guess someone buys Monolith, I assume, right? If they, is that possible? Yeah. But that's sad. They also made, I didn't realize that they made Fear. Did you guys ever play those games? There was like, what's that? PC back in the day. Maybe they're on console too. I think I played them all on PC though. Fun first-person horror games there. I don't know. It just blows my mind when a studio like Player First Games. I know. What's the name of the game? The Multiverses wasn't like performing quite as well as they wanted. And WB San Diego was kind of almost more of a support studio, but like Monolith has been around forever, even before WB owned them. And again, like they said, the storied history, it just seems wild. Like of all the studios you could shut down, like it's them. Like WB owns a lot of studios. I wish they wouldn't have shut down any, but Monolith just seems like out of nowhere. Like every game they've put out has pretty much been extremely successful as far as I can remember. I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts on this, or am I getting that incorrect?
From what I know, that is the case, and I don't have the number here, but they already poured in something like $200 million into the Wonder Woman game. Yeah. And so the thought that the better choice here is to scrap it than to finish it. Not that, who knows? Maybe there's I'm leaning into a bit of a sunk cost fallacy, like angle there, but I don't know. That's also part of this statement that they release is like, we want to focus on building, the best games possible with our key franchises. One of those they say is DC, which is Wonder Woman's a part of that.
They're in such big trouble. Warner Brothers. I mean, Warner Brothers has been in trouble for a long time. They're running that place into the ground, and it's horrible to watch it happen. And Monolith being a victim of that is a bummer. I'm sure I know I don't know everything about the situation and the story and what like led to that choice, and there might have been a really good choice, and I don't know. I mean, probably not, but yeah, like I love Shadow of Mordor, and I think it was Shadow of War. No, that was it was called Shadow of War. Yeah.
Yep. Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. Yep.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor. That was the first one I played, and it was great. It was like Game of the Year stuff. It swept. It was like a huge deal. Great game. Bummer to see it. Bummer to see that happen. Like I would like. What about Rocksteady? Are we worried about them at all?
I wouldn't have been before, but then with this happening, I'm actually honestly, after hearing this news, I'm surprised it wasn't them. Like that they shut down Monolith because of how bad the Suicide Squad game did.
Yeah,
like that was a train wreck. It seems wild that they let them go, but
or like the Mortal Kombat team. I'm worried about them a little bit. You know, the Injustice Mortal Kombat team.
Yeah. NetherRealm, is that what they're called?
I don't think it's NetherRealms. It might be, but I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, them and so what? And then I guess they have Harry Potter. That's going to be their next big huge thing.
Portkey Games, I think, did that.
I think they're working on what is it? Harry Potter
sequel.
It's the sequel to that right now. Yeah.
To whatever.
Follow up to Legacy.
Legacy. Yeah. That's what. I couldn't remember the name.
I guess my biggest thing too, after hearing this, is my hope and dream. This is what I'm praying for. I'm praying for Monolith to be brought back from the dead. Similar to when Microsoft shut down whatchamacallit there after with their game. What was the studio that made I can't think, the music game. They always did the horror games, Evil Within, and then they made why am I blanking on it? I adore this game. But they shut down that studio, and then, someone else came by and bought them up, and they're like, nope, you're not staying dead for long. But I hope that's a situation like that where Tango Gameworks, that's what it was. Tango Gameworks with Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yep. So with Monolith getting shut down like this, I'm like, man, like, just fingers crossed, please. Like, it's this matter of time we hear like 3 months from now, like, hey, so-and-so's buying them and bring them back from the dead.
Yeah, right.
Because what a historical studio with a great team with great IP. I mean, I assume they're going to lose the IP, but at least the systems and some of the systems, like I assume that would resurrect the Nemesis system again. Like that would be so awesome in so many different games. That doesn't need to be Lord of the Rings. It could be anything, any sort of action game would be fantastic with that. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping and praying for with this situation, and that everyone who is losing their jobs is able to land back on their feet, because what a rough ride they've had the last 5 years. I don't know. It's just been progressively getting worse. This in the last couple, but man, so sad. What a rough industry.
This feels like every week, every couple weeks, there's just more news about another studio, whether they're successful or not, just getting the axe. And it's really bleak. It's really depressing. It's hard not to just sort of wallow in that reality of just where the games industry is at right now, despite still being as profitable as ever. So it's really frustrating.
Everything just seems to it needs to cost way too much. Like there's no, we as in multiple industries, entertainment industries are experiencing the middle being completely removed. You have the very, very small, low budget. You have the Anora, and then you have the
nice Oscars, nice
the Wicked. But it's really hard to get that $20 million, $30 million budget movie or game or whatever. Things either need to cost hundreds of millions of dollars or I don't know.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's completely dropping out. And what's crazy too is, all right, you're either getting the highest of the high end or like the cheapest of the cheap. But a lot of those indie games, those cheap budgets, like sometimes they're better than like those big AAA games that are coming out. Like, what is going on here? Like, you would think these studios would realize like, oh, we don't need to keep throwing just money at the problem. Like, maybe it's just keeping good talent around and not firing and laying people off, you know? Crazy. I don't know. We'll see if one day that all turns around. But until then, just support indie devs, because that's where the good stuff's at anyways.
Yeah, true.
All right. Well, that is it for our nerdy nudes this week. I'm going to jump into our Patreon ad here, and then we'll be getting into Whatcha Playing after that. So stay tuned. Unless you're listening on Patreon, then we'll be back very, very quickly. All right. It's that time of the show where I tell you to go over to patreon.com/supergamerboy. Support us over there starting at just $1 a month. That's right. $1 each and every month gets you episodes early and ad-free, such as this show, as well as exclusive access to our Patreon exclusive shows like Super Later Boys or first season of Super Gamer Book Club, hosted by Zetch from back in the day. Super Later Boys is a fun one. Me and Adrian have gotten together a couple times since his little break here and chatted on there. So if you're missing them, go check out those episodes. It's just a fun, laid back, whatever we're feeling like talking about, that's what we talk about. So it's a fun time to catch up and talk about things other than just video games all the time, which, don't get me wrong, it's great, but we have some fun. You can also support us at the $5 level, where you can get early and ad-free access, as well as the show notes each and every week, so you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. You can see the news stories, the questions, the Whatcha Playing, and you can leave your own questions, comments, concerns right on the doc. So if you want to be a part of the show, have your voice heard, think about supporting us there, and you can leave your comments to be read right here on the show. $10 a month, you can get all the episodes early and ad-free, the show notes, and a big old shout out at the top of each and every episode. And then the big dog, $15 a month Patreon producer role. Support us there, and you get all the previous perks, and the biggest thing is you get to pitch a segment for our show. Ooh. If you have an idea for our show, if you have a fun little idea that you think you would love to hear us talk about or hear us do, or you yourself, you want to insert yourself into the show, think about supporting us over there, and shoot us your idea. We'd love to hear it, hear your pitch, and check it out. Adrian Holmes back in the day was a Patreon producer before he was a host, and he had Super Indie Boys segment we would run for 2 minutes before our ad break. He would send us videos, and we'd just play his video for 2 minutes in the middle of the show. Our current producer, Kajoma, he was doing Kajoma's Card Game Corner on our social media. So on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, you'd have little shorts updating people on new stuff going on in the world of Magic the Gathering or Marvel Snap and all that stuff. So if you got some cool stuff, cool ideas, support us over there, and we'd love to either do that segment for you or have you share that segment with us. You can also support us over at sgbstore.com, buy some merch. It may be almost spring of 2025, but our summer 2024 merch is still up and going strong. I'm drinking out of my Summer Gamer Boys cup right now. Check that out.
Cute.
Delightful.
Got our faces on there, little logo. So we can get cups and shirts and swim shorts. I swam in them all last summer in the pool. They were great. Get some hot pink swim shorts with our with a little sun on there. Good times. So help support the show that way. And last but not least, if you're watching live on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Super Gamer Boys, you can subscribe with your money, or you can subscribe with Jeff Bezos' money. So for free, if you have Amazon Prime, you can link that to your Twitch account, use your free Prime gaming subscription. It doesn't re-up every month, so make sure to remember to, if you're not dropping it at us, at least use it on someone. And but yeah, we would get full support from that, and you get ad-free viewing, access to emotes in the chat, and the good feeling that you help support some very good boys making podcast over here. So think about dropping that sub. if you would so kindly. All right, and let's get back to the show. All right, boys, we're here. We're in the final stretch, and it's time for me to ask Connor, what you playing?
Oh, I am playing some lovely games. And the fun thing about what I've been playing lately is that most of it is new, with the exception, of course, your beloved Metal Gear Solid, which Garrett over on our network, you may have seen, we're doing a whole PlayStation 1 30th anniversary celebration throughout the year, where that's manifesting itself in many different ways, from bonus podcasts on our Patreon to special live streams to famous video game characters like Crash Bandicoot going on Jeremy's show, Video Games a Comedy Show, and talking about the new Switch announcement. So we're doing a lot of fun stuff. I'm trying to play a lot of PlayStation 1 titles this year, and I haven't picked it up in, it's been a couple weeks, but I still have it plugged in over there. Metal Gear Solid 1 for the Sony PlayStation, and yeah, it's the top 20 game for me ever, Garrett. It's like tied for your top favorite game ever.
Yeah.
It never gets old. I'm still at the same place I was the last time I think I checked in with Jeremy, which is I have just Meryl, I met the DARPA chief. No, this is where I am. I'm fighting Revolver Ocelot for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Very cool
Unfortunately, where I've saved in the game, there's no rations available.
Oh, no.
And I have no health, so I just have to beat him without getting hit twice, which I've almost done, but it's very difficult. But God, that game is a masterpiece. I'm playing that. I'm also playing Avowed, which we brought up earlier on the show.
Ooh, yeah.
Jeremy just did a wonderful episode on his podcast that they released today on Adrian's birthday, March 3rd.
Just in
Jeremy,
time.
I loved listening to that, especially because it's a game that I'm enjoying so much, and you guys echoed so many of my sentiments. Garrett, have you dipped into Avowed on Game Pass at all?
I have not. I have not touched it yet.
It's just a fantastic RPG by Obsidian, sort of like open area where there are, I guess, 4 main areas. You specialize in a class. It feels like your decisions do really matter, as far as in the sense that they have an impact one way or the other. They're not, you don't have a lot of options in the big moments to choose just sort of neutral decisions where you're not going to upset anyone. Echoing something Jeremy and Mikey talked about. I am playing as a Vanguard Scout, Jeremy, and my primary build, my secondary loadout is a special shield that I've upgraded and a common mace I've upgraded all the way, just in case I need to go defense focused.
Whoa.
But my primary build has been, I found this special unique pistol. It's going left hand.
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
And I got a fine dagger that's also that I bought from. Did you do the quest, Jeremy, where you have to get some fine weapons and armor?
No, maybe not yet.
It's just the game challenging you to upgrade your armor to better
great.
stuff and spend money. So I have basically, I'm going pistol, dagger, and I'm going bang bang, and I'm going
ooh, snick,
Yeah.
bang, bang.
Nice.
But I love it. I want to, hearing you guys talk about the side quests you were doing, Jeremy.
Yes.
I'm also doing those side quests, and it makes me want to see as much as I can. So I'm scouring the map. I'm doing that. The last thing I'll talk about is I'm in a big old PSP hole. At the end of last year, Jeremy, when we did our PSP Space Solace, which is, we referenced Space Solace already on this episode, but it's our fantasy Snake Draft meets Desert Island Scenario podcast, where we basically take a console and we all go around picking our favorite games on it before we get jettisoned off into space. I've been wanting, Garrett, I literally asked for a PSP for Christmas and I didn't get it, which is, it's good to not get everything you want.
Okay.
I still haven't bought it, but let's just say that I'm playing games on my PlayStation Vita of the PSP variety.
Okay.
Which I figured out I was able to just, I shook my PS Vita last week really hard, and then suddenly PSP games were on it.
Wow. It's
And
amazing.
Wait, so
I've
you
just
did?
I did
Wait,
it.
this happened? Oh my
I did
God.
I've been
my God.
lusting so hard after playing PSP games for like 4 months at this point. And I don't say the word lust lightly. I'm lusting, Garrett.
Oh my! I'm so
goodness.
proud of you. Wait, so you? How long did this take you? And this mysterious thing, we won't even say what it was that you did.
Most of the process of, and I'll.
I'm glad
I'll
we're
talk
doing
o-
this
I'll
on
ta-
his show.
Yes.
too.
Yeah, this is fine.
Yes. I'll talk about the not even gray area part of it, and then
Yeah.
the gray area stuff I'll leave to the imagination.
Okay, good.
There's
Hey,
nothing.
no, our listeners know we're pro pirates over here.
Okay, great. There's nothing. Look, yeah, and obviously there's modding and hacking a system. There's not even a lot of gray area there. It's kind of to each their own in some senses when certain things expire. Anyway, the hacking process was very easy, and in both the hacking process and the gray area process of getting games that I may or may not have owned previously on the PlayStation Portable onto this console was a complete, like, each of those steps had one tiny little detail in all of the guides that I was following that was omitted from almost all of them. And I'm talking like in one of them, when you basically can load the area or the application after you fully hacked your system, where you are able to then pull a game that you may have owned in the past. None of them showed up, and so I was just like Googling, why isn't this showing up? Like, how do I do this and that? I watch one random video as like a last-ditch effort, and the guy says, oh, go ahead and make sure you click show games on this again.
Yes, yeah.
When you think it's already activated
Right.
because the box is already checked, it's kind of like turn it off, turn it back on.
Yeah.
So that happens, but of course not every game is available on this. So you then sometimes sourcing a game that you may have owned previously, you have to find another method to do that. So I'm trying to do that without using a USB to computer. I'm trying to do it all in the system. I finally succumb to the temptation of hooking it up to my PC. And I do this, and I can't, on my PC, the Vita shows up, but no folders for it show up at all. I'm like Googling, why aren't folders showing up on my Vita? What do I do? This, and that.
Did you hit the button to show folders?
It was like literally, Garrett, just about that simple. I find a guide. A bunch of guides are saying you open up this app before you plug it in, and then they should be there. Doesn't happen for me. I find this one guide that says open up the app before you plug it in. I do that, and then it says press select when you're in the app. I press select, voila, all the folders show up on my computer. This is like literally 1:30 in the morning on Friday. And it was just so frustrating to me that on all these guides, this tiny, tiny detail was left out of with all of them, with the exception of these like 300 view videos that I found. And the long and short of it is that I've got a few PSP games on this bad boy. Loco Roco's on there.
Oh!
Crisis Core's on there. I even put plenty of crap is on there. But Jeremy, the game I'm really enjoying in honor of our boy Adrian Holmes is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Okay, here we go.
Oh,
yeah, so how far are you in
baby.
that?
Okay.
I'm like 2 hours in.
Okay, sweet.
Have you played it, Jeremy?
No, not me.
This is an amazing one where there's 3 main characters, and you choose which character's whole story you play through at a time. And you can choose which order. So I'm playing as Ventus, who's the young boy, and I just helped out the Snow White and the 7 Dwarves in the Dwarf Woodlands. And I'm not a Kingdom Hearts person by any means. I played like the first quarter of the first one and enjoyed it before I fell off. This game is so charming, and I absolutely adore the combat's phenomenal. It's great. So I'm in PSP heaven, Garrett, with my PlayStation Vita. It's the same thing I played our Portable Ops on.
Oh, nice. Okay.
When you and I did that podcast years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's really all I've got. I know I kind of rambled, didn't really allow you guys to ask questions, but that's what I'm playing.
No, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you're fallen down that PSP hole because I what a horrible phrase that we've come up with. But anyways,
I'm proud of you for trying.
I picked up a PSP. That's probably like 3 or 4. Or it was around the time we did that Portable Ops episode because I think
yes, that's right.
You had asked me to come on some of the Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Games
That's
Club,
right,
and I was like, oh, he'll probably have me on like 1 or 2 or something, right? And then you're like, I want you on Portable Ops. I'm like,
yeah,
that's
baby.
That's one I haven't played. I have not played it yet.
Portable Ops and Twin Snakes.
Yeah, I'm in Twin Snakes, 2 games I hadn't played,
Interesting.
and also did not at the time own. So I like bought a PSP and bought a copy on eBay to try to like get in there. Boy, that was a lot of fun. But I went down the rabbit hole too with, acquiring a lot of different PSP games. Cause I had one as growing up, but had gotten rid of it and didn't have a lot of games when I was younger. And so it was fun to kind of get on eBay and purchase some games and maybe find some other games, other places, that I
of course,
borrowed here or there or something like that. But just to experience that system again, like almost not for the first time, but it kind of felt like it had been so long. I was firing it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. It felt like I got a brand new console. I was more excited for getting the PSP than when I got the PS5, honestly. I was like, this is so cool.
I still really want to pick one up despite being able to play these games on the Vita. I just love the look of the PSP, and I miss the one that I owned for like a month when I was 14 or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jeremy, what you playing?
So, if Connor listened to my show, it's so nice that you listened to my show, but you're going to have to hear it all again. So sorry.
Yay!
Avowed is just been such a great, little pick up and do a quest, pick up and put down. I really love the rhythm of it. Garrett, did you say you were playing that or no?
I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
I'm trying to think of the other Obsidian game I played. I liked
Outer Worlds. You play that?
Fallout New Vegas. That was them, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I like that. I think that's the only game of theirs I've ever played, and I really enjoyed it. But generally, fantasy games, I've talked about this before on the show, and our listeners are always lose their minds. Adrian, everyone always gets pissed off at me. But fantasy games in general, I have a hard time with. Like Skyrim, I played for an hour or 2, and I was like, nah, not for me.
I felt that way about Skyrim as well. I bounced off of Skyrim really hard. Yeah.
And so with Avowed, I was just worried. I was just like, is it just another fantasy game? I'm just going to be like, nah, not for me. I don't want to spend money on something I'm not going to enjoy, But if it's different, then maybe.
I mean, that's the thing though, right? Is that it's a Game Pass game. So if you're in that ecosystem, it costs nothing to just download and pick up and play it. And man, I gotta say, so this is gonna sound crazy. Since 2025, I have not turned on my PlayStation 5 to play a video game. I have been playing I've been playing my Xbox Series X all year so far. That's where I played Control for our games club. That's where I played Metaphor Fantasio. That's where I played Indiana Jones, obviously.
You dirty dog.
And it's now where I'm playing Avowed. So this has been, so far I'm having all of Q1 has been Xbox related, which has been really great. So between Avowed and that Ninja Gaiden Black 2 thing that they shadow dropped, they just kind of released, which are both great. So much to talk about with both. But the game I really want to keep spreading the word about here is this game Good Boy Galaxy. Have you heard of this game?
Only from you, dude.
Okay. Dude, dogs, you've got to get into Good Boy Galaxy, okay? This is a game that I'm actually playing on the Game Boy Advance, but it's a game that came out kind of recently or within the last few years. Okay. You can get it on Switch. Yeah, you can get it on Switch, you can get PC. But basically, I'm playing it on the GBA because you can also go buy it. You can go buy it for the GBA, a ROM, and then play it anywhere. It's sort of it's sort of just an action platformer, like kind of shooter, where you play as this cute little dog in an astronaut costume, and you meet all these like cool people in like different planets. But the big gameplay hook here is that the levels have like these vertical scaling, like vertical loops. So you know that thing of like when you fall down a cliff and then you end up back where you started, you fall so far that you end up all the way back around. That's sort of how they've designed puzzles around this. So
pretty cool.
You kind of traverse the map sort of vertically and horizontally at the same time to find like secrets and treasures. It's like a what do you call it? Like a treadmill almost effect. Yeah. But it's really, really fun. It's my bedtime game, and I'm loving the heck out of it. And because it's a GBA game developed, obviously, much, much later, they're just really like beautiful sprites and beautiful animations within the game itself. And so it's a lot of fun. Good Boy Galaxy. That's my big recommend.
Rough.
Yeah.
So you said when you buy it for GBA that you're buying the ROM, like the digital file, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if they sell a cart, but they make a big deal about like you can buy this on GBA and like play it through your GBA emulator, or like you know, I have the Retroid Pocket, so
that's exactly what I was thinking, because I was like, I could download it and play on like Delta on my phone, because I have the Delta on iPhone. I'm like, oh, sick! I can play this on my phone. Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Yeah, this looks sick. Looking at some screenshots here.
Yeah, it's just got a great vibe. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, for myself, I've been playing a couple games. One Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, Garrett.
Yeah, got to get my homework done, because I think later this month I might need to have that finished. So
you sure might.
Gotta get on that. I've been. I don't want to talk too much about it because there might be something later this month, but enjoying it so far. It's a cute game. A couple puzzles, a little frustrating, but we're figuring it out. It's with any games like this, there's always like a little learning curve, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm still just figuring out how does this world work. But enjoying it so far. I know there's a lot of hype when it first came out, so it's definitely something I'm excited to like really get through and get more of like, okay, what's going on here with the story and everything in this world.
I still need to turn it on. I have it, but I need to turn it on.
Oh shoot! Okay, yeah. That's probably a good thing to do.
I mean, I guess we got a little less than a month now, but I'll do it.
It's only only like a 3 or 4 hour game, I think. So
according to how long to beat, yes, roughly.
If you're a genius, because I'm pretty sure I put like 3 hours into it, and I'm not near the end. That's for sure. But that's because I'm a dummy and I'm stuck on some puzzles. But anyways, the other game I've been playing, and I will talk a little bit about, because our buddy Kajoma01, our Patreon producer, commented on our show notes and said, super excited to hear what you think about this game. I hope is that it solves some of the issues you had with Balatro, and that is Slay the Spire. Now, I'm going to be honest, 99% of the things I say on this podcast, I forget and eject out of my brain as soon as we stop recording. So I can't remember my exact gripes with Balatro, other than it just being, oh, you know what my gripe was it just was kind of like an empty shell of a game a little bit. And I think we talked about in the Game of the Year discussion, didn't we, with you guys? Like where,
maybe.
So where like I loved it. I loved the game and put a ton of time of it into it, but ultimately it did kind of feel like, oh yeah, there's not really like a story to keep me going. Generally with single player games, that's what I'm looking for. I love a game for a story, and even though the gameplay was a blast in Balatro, it was hard to just keep playing it because I wasn't that addicted to the mechanics. Initially I was, and then you just kind of like, all right, this is it. This is all there is. Slay the Spire though, I've only played maybe like an hour or two of that on the plane ride to Seattle last week. And let me tell you, that game's a lot of fun. Deck building game, very, very different. Obviously, you're not playing poker with this one. More like a battling deck game, slowly getting cards that help you like do attacks or block attacks or do special abilities and whatnot. Have you guys, either of you guys played Slay the Spire? Are you guys familiar with this game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you guys know exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, I wish I played more of it, but I get it, you know.
Yeah. So I've heard a ton about it, especially from Kajoma. He's like, has put 1,000 hours into this game. Like, he's obsessed with it. And I finally gave it a try. And let me tell you, it's a lot of fun. And I like how, at least what I played so far, there's no like major story hooks going on. But what interested me is that already like an hour into it and there are acts. So I'm like, okay, there must be some sort of development or changes happening here. Like, why else would they have to break this game up into acts? I'm in act 2 now. But even just the monsters you come across are a ton of fun. So far, they've all been like very different and unique. I haven't hit any repeats yet. I haven't died yet. I'm still in my first run.
Oh, wow. Cool.
But again, I'm just in act 2, so I'm not like super duper far into the game. But I know that's a mechanic that I'm interested how it's gonna how that affects your game. Because is it like a full reset every time? Will there be some carryover? Well, you know, does the map change up? I don't know any of that yet, so I'm still figuring it out. But I did want to let Kajoma know, yes, I am very much enjoying it. I'm liking the combat. The cards are fun. The art is fun. It reminded me of a game. And I wish I could remember the name of it. I played like a board game, a physical board game version of, it's very similar to Slay the Spire with my buddy when I visited him in Indianapolis like last month. And it was funny because I played that, enjoyed that, and then I literally pick up Slay the Spire. I'm like, oh, this feels so much like this board game. I just like this physical board card game, but just very different. That one was cool about the board game that I played was all the art was actually done by the guy who did some of the classic Magic the Gathering art. I wish I could remember the name of the game. That'd be helpful. But Slay the Spire is still very cool. Like that kind of made me think of that though too. Like the artwork is so I don't know, so interesting, so fun. The monsters are really cool designs, and I like the map, like the pathways, how it works. It's very similar to like Inscription. I know, like, because like with Balacho, you just kind of your roadmap, quote unquote, is the antes and the different like big blind, small blind, that kind of stuff. But I like in this game, it's more like Inscription, where you can actually choose, like, am I going to go left or right? Okay, over here I can see there's a treasure chest, but over here there's an enemy or whatever, a rest camp. So I like the kind of the blending of those games together. Nice. It's pretty cool. So enjoying it so far. I'm excited to get more into it and share more with you listeners. All right. Well, that's it for the show. We are doing good on time. I think we talked about before the show how last episode was a jam-packed, supersized one, but I think this one be under an hour and a half, which is our standard. So good job, guys.
Look at us.
Keeping
Despite all the goofing off, we still did it.
Look at that. Still did it. You guys might actually get asked back. Sorry, Internet Touch Society. You guys, never again. No, just kidding. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you all so much for listening. We love each and every one of you. So thankful that you took time out of your day to watch us live on Twitch and YouTube while we recorded, or, you know, checked us out later on podcast apps or youtube.com/supergamerboys. Thank you. We appreciate it. If you love what we do and want to help support us, you can go over to patreon.com/supergamerboys. As we said in the ad, as low as $1 a month, you can throw our way, help support our channel and get some perks out of it. You can also support us at sgbstore.com, buy some sweet merch. We got hoodies, t-shirts, cups, shorts, you name it. We got some wacky stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Rate and reviews where we can, whether we're on you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast. I think they both accept reviews. Go drop some 5 stars if you would so kindly. Shout out to Jack Sriracha, Yate, and DJ Trooz for allowing us to use their music on our show. Remember, go find them on Spotify and Apple Music. Links will be in the show description. And during the week, you can find us over at supergamerboys.com, Twitter and Instagram at supergamerboys. I am on Twitter and Instagram at gmorlang. And I would love to hear some plugs from you boys. Where are you guys at, and what should they, our fine listeners, go check out for viewers?
Jer Bear?
Well, you can listen to my podcast, Video Games a Comedy Show. It's a lot of fun over there. It's a lot different from this show. So, you know, you can kind of get both flavors, you know, it's a good complementary flavor, I think, to a program like this. So I think you're, and of course, Garrett Morlang and Adrian Holmes are frequent guests on that show, so it's a lot of fun. We do bits about comedy and video games.
If you want an actually fun show, you can go listen to this podcast. No, just kidding.
It's just just a little different. Sometimes Crash Bandicoot is on to talk about the Switch 2 announcement.
So good. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, you can follow me on social media if you want. I'm on Blue Sky if anyone's out there at Connor McCabe. I'm also on Twitch at twitch.tv/consiscool69, where I'm also streaming video games. And then my podcast, also part of Jeremy's, the network that we run together, Call Me By Your Game, is the show that I host, where I've had both these lads on several times to talk about, video games and what they mean to people. And also we run our own little video game podcast network over there. I would say if you're interested in finding out what the network does, check us out on social media, on Blue Sky and Instagram at Super NPC Radio, but especially our Super NPC Games Club feed. It's a free feed that's on wherever you get your podcasts. Currently, our Legacy Sonic Adventure Games Club series is airing there. So episode 10 of 12 is coming out this week that this podcast airs. That's out. And then after that, Resident Evil 2 Remake, that old series we do, it's going to air there too. So yeah, if you want a book club style format for a game, covering a game chapter by chapter, check us out there.
I preached it each and every week while it was going on, but I'll do it again right now. So your Patreon's patreon.com/supernpcradio, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So go support them over there and go listen to the Death Stranding book club.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So much fun.
It was the best the whole time. Go listen to it. Go listen to their games club on Death Stranding. It's so good.
I mean, Garrett, you were a pivotal vote as a patron to get us to play that game. And we're about to have an election for our next series. So you might influence the next game we play too.
Let's do it. Let's go cheat the polls. No, just kidding.
Yeah, let's cheat those
that was
polls,
a legit vote.
baby.
Did I pay for 2 subscriptions to your Patreon? Maybe it was 2 votes from me, but
Hey, there's nothing against the rules.
Death Stranding had to win. I'm sorry. All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show here. It was a blast.
Of course.
And folks, listen, if you enjoyed hearing them, go check out their shows. Call Me By Your Game, Video Games, a Comedy Show. Their whole network is fantastic. Super NPC Radio. A lot of cool folks over there making some cool stuff. Alrighty, and with that, this is where we end the show. I still haven't figured out how to do this, because normally it's a back and forth with me and Adrian, and he sets me up and blah, blah, blah. But here's how we'll do it. Thank you, folks, so much again for listening, for watching. And remember, be kind to one another. And last but not least, we are the Super Gamer Boys, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Wow.
There we go.
What's a better way to end than that?
Great way to end.
Perfect way.